What's up, nigga?
You're watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to another random thoughts, whatever you want to call it. And I wanted to talk today about my full, nuanced opinion on AI. Because, as you guys would probably be surprised, because, you know, I've used AI art in thumbnails and things like that and whatnot, right? And I've used it to make shit posts and all sorts of other things, right? I have fun with AI art to a degree, and I don't have a problem with that per se, but we'll jump in. You would be probably surprised to know that when it comes to, like, AI as a whole broad subject, I actually have relatively negative views on it. Not so much on art, and I think that's my biggest problem with people who criticize it, is that's all they seem to fucking talk about when the art is not a concern to me. Like, the AI art is fucking, like, dumb shit. Like, it's fun shit to shitpost, and, like, although, again, the idea of, like, movies that are, like, fully AI-generated to go pay and see, and, like, that becoming the future of entertainment, that's a cringe thought, and a lot of AI commercials, like Coke made, are just kind of soulless and lame, so, obviously, there can be lame shit made with it, but again, it can be used really well with things like The Will Stancil Show, right? Or just making dumb shit posts. At the same time, there's much worse, broader implications for AI that people just don't think about. Like, again, I think ChatGPT and Grok and things like that can be fun to fuck around with, to shitpost, and to collect information altogether, but some of the problems I have with AI come down to that information. For instance, many people, if they search on Google now, you know, they're just gonna see an AI overview of what they're searching for. And oftentimes, that can be really fucking inaccurate. And, often that's by, you know, not by design per se, because, again, it's just the AI gathering shit and just making shit up. But it could also be used in the future by design to, you know, spread misinformation that, you know, is misinformation that, you know, people who want to make propaganda would use. Again, when it comes to AI art, I'm fine with it. I don't give a shit about AI art, because Twitter artists and people who bitch about it are fucking scum. Like, they're people who, like, throw a little bitch fit because, like, people didn't want to pay them for, like, a fucking, like, furry picture of SpongeBob they drew, right? For fucking My Little Pony porn, you know, shit that fucking artists are doing on Twitter. Like, Twitter artists are some of the most obnoxious fucking people online. So, I don't have any problem with the AI art, per se. And I will say there is an abundance of YouTube AI slop that I fucking hate and can't stand seeing on YouTube, but slop is hardly strictly an AI problem, because, like, shitty top 10 channels like Watch Mojo and Most Amazing Top 10s and All-Time 10s and shit like that have existed for fucking ever. Like, they've been on YouTube for, like, fucking years. Watch Mojo's been on YouTube for, like, over a decade. So, slop is hardly a new thing. It's just even lazier slop now. And a lot of the times it gets shit wrong when you look at, like, SpongeBob YouTube AI slop, like SpongeTube and shit like that. But on the flip side, you got people complaining about, like, mutant mods using an AI of his own voice for parts of his videos, and I don't really have a problem with that. I wouldn't do something like that. I think that's kind of odd. I have used, like, AI narration for specific, like, you know, scenes and shit with stuff, but never with my own voice. Like, if I want my own voice, I'm just gonna fucking talk. It's weird to me to AI your own voice, but I don't have a problem with that, with Mutant Mods, for instance, who's a Fallout mod YouTuber, by the way, doing that. So, it's interesting to me, like, where people draw the line on some of that. But I do acknowledge AI slop is a problem. It's just, slop is hardly AI exclusive. But I've got a problem with that AI overview thing, as I mentioned. But I've also got a problem in as much that there's, you know, AI customer service that you gotta deal with now. You gotta jump through fucking hoops to try and get to a person, because you'll be talking on the phone, and you'll get, like, an automated system, and it's even worse now because it's all AI. Taco Bell has fucking AI drive-thrus, and I'm not in favor of shit like that, because a lot of that shit either doesn't work, causes problems, and at the end of the day, I'm not in favor of automation, right? Like, you may say, oh, well, what about people? What about artists? Well, those artists oftentimes are in favor of automation, and they only care when it's their stupid little fucking projects they're doing online. We're also in a day and age where everyone and their grandmother wants to be a fucking artist. It's like, everyone wants to be an artist, so nobody wants to do anything else. We have enough fucking artists. Get a job. And at the end of the day, when it comes to art, I prefer art that actually does have a soul most of the time, right? Like, AI art is just fun to shitpost and stuff for me, right? And again, if I want to make a thumbnail, I'm not going to pay some fucking idiot online and then wait for like 2 weeks to get the damn thing when I could just fucking either generate it or throw some shit together in Paint like I do. Or have Corbin draw it, because Corbin can draw up a thumbnail pretty quick, too. So I do use an artist a lot of the time with Corbin, too, but, like, at the same time, I'm not gonna pay some fucking asshole on Twitter, like, you know, $50 to draw fucking a thumbnail or something, you know? Like, that's fucking ridiculous. But, like, you know, things with automation, I'm very much against. Because, again, as you guys probably know, I'm fairly anti-technology in many ways. I think the internet was a mistake that fucked up our society in many ways. Obviously, that's a Pandora's box that's been open for a long time, and I get many benefits from the internet. I've met plenty of friends online. I have my YouTube channel. I enjoy being online. And, you know, you can argue that the internet and AI themselves are both just tools that can be used for both good and evil, and I do think that is the case. Because, again, they can be used for both good and evil, but I do think they will both ultimately be much worse for society, because we're already in such an age where nobody knows how to fucking do anything, and we're going to get even worse with that, with people being able to use AI to cheat in school, being able to use AI to replace jobs, and like people could say, oh, to maintain jobs, we'll just make new jobs. It's like, yeah, you say that, but how many jobs can really be created from it, right? Like, another problem that we have with that is, like, all of our computer chips are going to AI instead of making, you know, like, gaming chips and shit like that, like, actual chips people can put in their computers. Instead, all of the money and chips and resources are going to fucking AI shit, which is why there's, like, a fucking RAM shortage with fucking gaming and shit like that. Which is also why, like, Microsoft keeps jacking up their prices. And I say this as someone who's using an outdated as fuck computer. I know that that's, you know, ironic for me to say, but it's true. Like, all of the focus is going to that. I think the right is far too pro-AI. Again, the left is very anti-AI in ways that are fucking cringe, because all they bitch about is some fucking drawing or some ChatGPT story. But the right is too pro-AI. And I think that just keep going and, like, making this thing, like, if we haven't surpassed the singularity, we're not fucking far off from it. AI can also be used to make fake video footage to fake evidence of things, right? You can make fraudulent things like that. You can use it for propaganda purposes in that way, too. Like, this thing is a very scary and dangerous thing if you put it on a broad enough scale, right? And obviously, we can all kind of tell what AI is right now, right? We can tell when a video is AI most of the time. But the thing is, just look at the comparison between what we had just a few years ago to now. Very radically different. And on top of that, I'm willing to bet there exists AI that's far more advanced than we see, because the public always sees shit after the government's had it for a while. Now, a counterpoint to that could be that the government is fucking incompetent as shit. I mean, look at the Epstein files. You can literally copy and paste some of it to unredact it, and they're incompetent in a lot of regards. So you could argue maybe they don't have it, right? Maybe that's all just, you know, something they want me to think, right? They want me to think that they have all this crazy shit. But the thing is, I'm willing to bet they have shit that's stronger than what we know about. You know, we got AI age verification on some sites, and I'm not a fan of that. I think that's bad. A lot of things with AI is just, like, bad with the way that it ruins the internet. Again, the internet has been ruined for a while, for many reasons, and this is just going to only add on to that. Because, frankly, the internet, it was better when it was more niche, and there was less, like, integrated into our lives. It's like with Tolkien's stories, right? In Tolkien's universe, each era of civilization got more technologically advanced, but became worse off. And I think that's something that rings true to reality in many ways. Now, you can argue there's plenty of great things, quality of life improvements we've had, people live longer, things like that, and that's true. And whenever I talk about this in regards to the internet, I have a friend of mine that always tells me, oh, well, the internet's still pretty young, we're still getting used to it. It's like, are we, though? How long is pretty young at this point? Television didn't have the same effect. I mean, it did affect the culture. It did have a pretty big effect on culture. But nowhere near to the degree that the internet has, with how much it's ruined social cohesion and relationships and things like that. Like, the more that we have this obsession with progress without any sort of goal or end game or reason for it, and I use progress in quotes, is just going to be our downfall, honestly. Like, we have this obsession that things constantly have to change and be new and different, and I think that's a massive problem, because a lot of the time there are things in place that do work, and there are things that exist for a reason, or are the way they are for a reason. Now, obviously, I do think we need to be adaptable, and as humans, that is our biggest strength, is that we are adaptable, and some things changing is obviously good, But we're so obsessed with this concept that change without a reason for it is good, because there needs to be some sort of change. Like, just because something is status quo doesn't make it bad, doesn't make it good either. In fact, status quo is often terrible, and in fact, things that in our culture now, we need to revert because our status quo is bad now because we've gone too far in many respects. But just because that's the case doesn't mean we should be obsessed with changing. Like, again, we need to be able to adapt, but also able to understand that sometimes things exist for a reason, and also, if we're going to change things, there needs to be a plan, there needs to be an end game, there needs to be a reason for it. And at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff is just going to keep spiraling and spiraling. I mean, literally every sci-fi fiction has been fucking, you build the AI and it takes over. Like, these people were watching Terminator and RoboCop and shit and seeing, this is the future I want. Again, I'm not one of those people that likes to, like, chimp out about AI art, because I use AI art. I don't mind that. Again, using it to write some stupid creepypastas that I put on Corbin's channel is fine. Again, stupid little shit posts are funny, right? Using it as a tool to help you, like writing and shit like that, that's funny. But at the end of the day, there's a certain amount of it that I think that when we get to a certain point, it's just going to be absolutely unbearable with it being everywhere in life, right? Like, again, like I said, customer service. I had to deal with an Amazon thing when I ordered some headphones that they didn't ship, and they actually mixed up the tracking number with my neighbor's package. And I had to go through this whole fucking set of hoops that I had to jump through with this stupid AI chatbot to get it to process a refund for me. It gave me a refund, which is good, it finally did, but it was such a pain in the ass when, if I could have just, like, talked to somebody or had some sort of messaging system with the seller even, which Amazon doesn't really have. Or if it does, it's really hard to get through. I bitched about the Amazon messaging system forever ago, because years ago I was able to finally get a hold of a seller through some really ridiculous means that took forever. And on top of that, YouTube now uses AI to check your videos even more so than ever before, so it can make false detections of shit, and then AI will, like, do the manual review. It's often done by what seems to just be AI, like no person ever took a look at it sometimes. And honestly, like, there was always a degree of that, but it seems like it's even far more prevalent and even worse, and it's only going to get worse from here. But nevertheless, we get more and more of that every day, where it's like, you have to trick AI in order to get to a person. And, like, there was, like, that vending machine that people fucked with and got a bunch of free shit, like thousands of dollars worth of shit, by just confusing the machine because the AI. Like, these things can be hacked, and people just, people think, oh, if we put all this, it works better because, human error. But it's like, computers can be hacked, computers can make errors. Computers don't have real judgment, they have processing, they have CPUs, right? Humans have actual judgment. Computers can't make an ethical decision. Computers can't make a, decision based on something, metaphysical or anything like that, right? Computers have no emotion, no soul, right? They're just completely logarithmic fucking, numbers. That's all they are, is they're just fucking logical. It's all just fucking code. That's what it fucking is. And so, yeah, as I said, I think AI art's fun. I think there's fun to be had with it. And, AI itself is a tool that ultimately can be used for good or evil. But it is something that does make me worry that it will cause a lot more problems than solutions. Now, again, you could argue that there's also a lot of fear-mongering and stuff too, and there's definitely some of that, but at the same time, when we're so gung-ho to just charge forward with change for the sake of change, it's never a good thing. Now, on a much lighter note as well, I'm also not a fan of things that are, like, procedurally generated, and that's another use of AI. It's a different kind of AI than the kind of shit we're talking about here. And obviously, there's a lot of things that are made with AI that I love, like things like the Will Stancil Show. That's fucking funny. I love the Will Stancil Show. Again, making stupid little funny things, that's one thing. But integrating it into everything in life, fucking AI-driven cars. The concept of cars that could just drive you to the police station if it perceives you did something, right? Or cars that could be remote-controlled to take you to any destination, or, like, let's say theoretically they could be hacked. These things are scary fucking concepts. Like, I've always said, the less computers in my car, the better. Because, you don't want anything to be able to take the wheel from you. That's a fucking freaky-ass concept. And yeah, it's fucking scary. And like, also, it brings up an issue of fault, right? If an AI car that's completely AI driven crashes into somebody, who the fuck is at fault? It's a whole issue. AI just fucking everywhere. It's just such a fucking dumb concept that's just begging to cause downfall. Talking about it, actually, there's only one argument I even heard that was compelling, and that is the accelerationist argument, where you want everything to fail so that we can fucking start over from the rubble. But as I've said before, I'm not an accelerationist for selfish reasons, admittedly, right? Like, I think, first off, I think accelerationism is a scary and daunting prospect, right? Where you're intentionally trying to make shit fail. Because, you know, what would it lead to collapse, or would it lead to more dystopia, right? Like, that's the part that, like, you know, what is accelerationism really going to accomplish, right? Like, I don't really think... I can understand the argument for it to a point, right? But, again, is it going to actually make anything better long-term? And if it does, is it going to be in our lifetime? Is it going to be in, like, let's say that we have children, right? Would it be in their lifetime? Or would we just be making a worse world for them, too, in the meantime? Like, again, it's a whole lot of questions with that. And that kind of thing, again, I'm very against that. I think accelerationism is fucking scary, and I wouldn't want that either. I've also become increasingly cynical as to whether or not the average person has a breaking point, or if people are just willing to accept any horrible thing that happens to us. I mean, look at how much people have been willing to put up with from the bullshit, with how much worse this world has gotten over time, with how much stricter things have gotten, with how much more fucking centralized and controlled every aspect of life is, how scrubbed clean everything is on the internet, for instance. Now, there is some hope I have, and, you know, depending on the day, sometimes I'm more optimistic than others. Some days I think, you know, people are starting to wake up. Like, I hear even older people, to an extent, talking about some of the points I hear younger people making, too, about the problems with things. But again, the world is so fucked up with how fucking top-down everything is corrupted and run by blackmail and extortion and all sorts of horrible things that are done internationally throughout the world. You know, how much we import our fucking goods and export our fucking slave labor, basically, right? Because we send shit over to be made in the third world for fucking nothing and exploiting people, and then, you know, living off that, and not only doing that, but also not having our own independence on it. And at the end of the day, who's programming these AIs? Who's going to control them, right? What narrative or ideals are they going to put into them? Because nobody is unbiased and everybody has an agenda. At the end of the day, I do try to maintain hope, because I think blackpilling also accomplishes nothing. I think it's good to talk about the issues and point them out. I think it is good that there are nuances and there are some people on different sides, but I do think the people pushing back on it are often, like, retarded and only pushing back for the stupid surface-level reasons. And while a lot of the people who might be more in favor of it are people that I would get along with on other issues, and I defend things like AI art and stuff like that, I think that there definitely needs to be less of such a gung-ho attitude towards it. To quote Jurassic Park, we've spent so much time thinking about whether we could, we never stopped to think whether we should. Again, there are some things that give me hope, and I want to end this on a positive note. I think part of the problem as well is that all of this technology, not just AI, but the internet and all sorts of things, with how sedentary and fucking solo our lifestyle has become, it's made us crave human connection we just don't have anymore, because, you know, that's why people are so socially, like, inept now. Like, people don't have a connection, and that's, you know, things with, like, communities, but it's also things with, like, you know, seeing a store clerk when you go and buy something, you know, simple little things that make life feel more real and lived. Whereas if everything's just, like, sterilized and mechanical, that's a problem. But anyway, I've rambled on and been all over the place with this. I hope I got my point across in some capacity. This has been Fugitive Red Eye. Have a good one. Toodles.
Subscribe to Fugitive Red Eye.